Let's talk about something most people feel but rarely understand. Why is it so hard to actually build wealth? Not just make money for a moment, not just get by, but truly build something that grows, stays, and compounds over time. Because if you look around, you'll notice something strange. A lot of people earn money, some even earn good money, but very few actually build lasting wealth. And if you've ever tried, you've probably experienced this firsthand. You start making progress. You feel like things are finally improving. Maybe you save a little more, maybe your income increases, maybe you feel like you're gaining momentum. But then, something shifts. An expense shows up. A decision doesn't work out. You lose focus, or something pulls your attention away, and slowly, or sometimes all at once, you fall back. Not necessarily to zero, but far enough that it feels like you're starting over. Again. And after a while, this creates a frustrating realization. It's not that you can't make money, it's that you can't seem to keep building it. That's the hidden struggle. Because building wealth isn't about a single moment. It's about consistency over time. And that's exactly where most people get stuck. So naturally, you look for solutions. You try to be more disciplined. You try to think long-term. You try to make smarter financial decisions. And for a while, it works. But then something happens, and whatever progress you made, or it doesn't hold. This is where the real question begins. Why doesn't it stick? Because if you were truly moving in the right direction, progress should compound. It should build on itself. But if it keeps resetting, there's usually something interfering with that process. Most people assume the issue is external. Not enough income, not enough knowledge, not enough opportunity. And sometimes those things matter. But they don't fully explain the pattern, because there are people with limited resources who still manage to build wealth over time. And there are people with access, income, and information who stay stuck in cycles. So what's the difference? It often comes down to something that isn't immediately visible, something that influences how you think, decide, and act over and over again. Your internal patterns. Every financial decision you make is filtered through these patterns. How you evaluate risk, how you handle pressure, how you respond when things don't go as planned, and more importantly, how consistent you are when no one is watching. Because building wealth isn't about one good decision. It's about a series of aligned decisions over time. If those decisions are inconsistent, the results will be inconsistent. And inconsistency usually isn't random. It follows a pattern. For example, you might feel motivated and focused at the beginning. You plan, you act. You start moving forward, but then something disrupts that state. Stress, doubt, distraction, and without even realizing it, your behavior shifts. You become less consistent, less clear, less intentional, not because you chose to, but because your internal state changed. And that state influences everything. This is the part most people overlook. They focus on what they did wrong, instead of what caused the shift in the first place. Because if the state keeps changing, the results will keep changing too. And that's what prevents wealth from building. It's not a lack of effort. It's a lack of stability in the pattern driving that effort. Think of it like trying to build something on unstable ground. You can keep adding more on top, but if the foundation keeps shifting, it won't hold. That's what happens when your internal patterns aren't aligned with long-term growth. You make progress, but you can't sustain it. So the goal isn't just to make better decisions. It's to create the conditions where better decisions happen naturally and consistently, where your default state supports growth instead of disrupting it. Because when that happens, everything starts to change. You don't rely as much on motivation. You don't fall off as easily under pressure. You don't have to constantly restart. Instead, you continue. And that's what building wealth really requires. Not perfection, not extreme effort, but continuity. So if you've been wondering why you can't seem to build wealth, even when you're trying, even when you're improving, even when you're doing what you're supposed to do, it might not be about doing more. It might be about understanding what's interrupting the process. Because once you identify that, you can begin to change it. And when that underlying pattern becomes stable, progress stops resetting, it starts accumulating. If this gave you a new perspective on why building wealth feels so difficult, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because in the next videos, we're going to explore what actually shapes these internal patterns and how they can be shifted in a practical and sustainable way. And if you want to go deeper into this right now, there's something in the description and in the pinned comment that connects directly to what we talked about today. It expands on how these patterns work and what can be done to start aligning them with long-term financial growth. If you're ready to stop starting over, that's your next step. I'll see you in the next video.